Hello everyone. Welcome to this session on segregation of expenses as revenue, capital and deferred revenue expenditures. With few more examples I am here with you. The first one, purchase of patent rights. Which type of expenditure this is? Whether it is revenue? No. Why? Because patent rights is one of the intangible assets na. If any cost incurred for purchase of patent rights will be definitely considered as capital expenditure and to be shown as an asset on the asset side of the balance sheet, right? Let's move to the next one. Fees paid for the renewal of patent rights. This is the expenditure which is incurred for renewal of patent rights, therefore will be considered as a revenue expenditure. This is not the cost of the asset, okay? So that revenue expenditure to be charged to income and expenditure account. Then structural alterations to the buildings. We have to look into what will be the expenditure incurred for structural alterations of the buildings. In that, a portion will be connected to alteration or extension of the building, and few of the expenses under this will be in connection with the maintenance of the building. Suppose it is incurred for the extension of building, that portion has to be considered as capital expenditure, and remaining portion which is incurred for the maintenance must be considered as revenue expenditure. But we have to observe the expenditure included in this structural alterations. Okay. The next one, laboratory expenses incurred by the science department of the college. Any lab expenses, can we consider it as capital? It is not purchase of laboratory equipments, but lab expenses, maintenance of laboratory. Therefore, they are the revenue expenditures. The next one, cost of installing lights and fans in the office. Definitely, the installation cost of lights and fans will be considered as capital expenditure. Why? I think you know one item under the asset side, that is fixtures and fittings. Okay. Any fixation of lights and fitting the fans will be considered as asset. So, these are all the capital expenditure but not the revenue expenditure. Next, honorarium paid to the secretary of the association. What is this? Revenue expenditure. Because this is for maintenance of the association, they are making payment of honorarium to the secretary. Therefore, this is the revenue expenditure to be charged to income and expenditure account. The next one, carriage paid on goods purchased. What is this? Whether this is the expenses in connection with the purchase of any asset? No. This is in connection with the purchase of goods and services. Definitely, this is the revenue expenditure to be charged to the income and expenditure account. The next one is wages paid for workmen employed for setting up a new machinery. What is this? Capital expenditure. Any expenses in connection with purchase and installation of any of the fixed assets will be treated as capital expenditure and to be debited to concerned asset account. Okay? The next one, replacement cost of a worn out part of a plant. This is purely revenue expenditure because this is the cost of maintenance of plant, therefore it is considered as a revenue expenditure and it must be charged to the income and expenditure account. Then damages paid on account of the breach of contract to supply certain goods. This is also considered as a revenue expenditure because it is relating to the maintenance of agreement regarding the goods. The next one, legal expenses incurred in an action for violation of its trademark. Suppose any legal expense incurred for the purchase of any asset can be considered as capital expenditure. but this is against the violation of rules of its trademark, so that this is considered as revenue expenditure. Cost of extension of pavilion and seating accommodation. Which type of expense this is? Capital expenditure, because this is the expenditure incurred in connection with the extension of a pavilion, that is a fixed asset. Therefore, this is a capital expenditure to be shown as an asset. Next, cost of heavy advertisement for placing a new product in the market. Actually, advertisement cost will be considered as a revenue expenditure, but this is the huge expenditure which is incurred on advertisement while introducing a new product to the market. So, which type of expenditure this is then? It is deferred revenue expenditure, because the expenditure is of revenue nature, advertisement expenditure, but the amount is so huge and the benefit of such advertisement will be for 2 or more years. Therefore, this will be considered as deferred revenue expenditure. If it is a deferred revenue expenditure, what will be the treatment of the same? We have to see to what extent it has been written off in a year. The portion which is already written off has to be charged to income and expenditure account, and unwritten portion is there na, that has to be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. The next one, cost of air conditioning the office. Whether this is a recurring expense? No, this is the non-recurring expense, and the amount which is spent on air conditioning the office is very huge, and the benefit of such air conditioning is also for more years. So, this cost of air conditioning is considered as capital expenditure. Then, customs duty paid on imported machinery. Remember, this is the expenses in connection with the purchase of a fixed asset. Therefore, it is considered as capital expenditure and to be debited to machinery account, but not to the custom duty account to be charged to income and expenditure account. It should be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. So, with this, I think now we are easily identify which type of expense it is, whether it is a capital expenditure, revenue expenditure and deferred revenue expenditure, and we know the treatment of each expense. Thank you very much.